This tutorial is on sessions. Sessions are critical in the coaching-client relationship because it tracks the progress. It is the time when you're meeting and often leads to how you get paid. So it's important to make sure that you are tracking your sessions appropriately and providing the value out of them that the client deserves. So with a session, there are several ways for you to initiate a session. So the easiest way is just go to Quick Add, and once you have someone signed up as a client, then you'll be able to schedule a session with them. So there are three options that you have for a session. You can either schedule a session, meaning it's not yet happened and you want to get it on both of your calendars. When you schedule a session, it means that after you schedule it, it goes to the client and they have to approve and say yes, and then it gets on both your calendars. The second option is you didn't have time to schedule it, and so you're going to do like an impromptu one right now, in which case it's this. If you choose this option, it'll start the session immediately. And then the third one is you've already held the session and you just want to go back and make sure that you've have a record of that and put any notes related to that session in the session area. So let's start with the first one, schedule a session. You just go there, you click continue, and it's going to bring up a window and it's going to say, you know, who's the session with, what format is it in, when is the date, the time, how long, whether it's paid, non-paid, or pro bono. And if you want to track the rate, you can do that as well. Now the client won't see the rate or those areas. And then it'll show their availability as well as yours if you want to toggle back and forth. When you're ready, you just hit schedule now. And so say we set it up for 12 p.m. on Friday for 30 minutes, and I'll call it non-paid. I just schedule now, and that would then go to my client Susan, who would see that as a request under the request system that says session request, and she'd either accept it or not accept it. Once I'm ready to meet with Susan, the easiest way is to go to sessions, and this pulls in all sessions across the site, and you'll see that my session with Susan is pending her reply. So I can either cancel it before she accepts it, or I can wait for her to accept it. Once she's accepted it, then at the point that we're ready to start, you would then see this right here, the start button. So let's say that she has accepted it and we're ready to start. So I would just click on the start right here, and what that does is that initiates the session, which in essence brings up a new screen. So this is one of the session screens here. And so what it does is at the top of the page it shows who you're meeting with, the format, duration, all of the information that we've talked about. It shows how long, and it gives you a start and stop so that if you want to start the clock ticking, you can, so that you know how long you've been in the session with them. Now your client will not see the clock, so don't worry about that. In addition, if you utilize Google Hangouts or if you have your Skype listed, then the Skype button would also appear here, and you could use that as well. So during the session, you can do several things. While you're talking to them, you can access any process questions that you may use. So for instance, if there are certain questions that you're always referencing or that help you in a particular methodology, then you could store those here. And once they're stored, they're always there for every session. You can be taking session notes. So during the session, this person, Luke, may be sharing notes with me. Every time they hit save, those notes would appear here. And likewise, I can be sharing notes with Luke. And so just by clicking off, it saves it. And so Luke would then see my notes that were shared with him. In addition, I can take private notes. so that next time that I'm meeting with him, I have a record of those notes as well. And so while you're talking, you can basically use this to go in and out on the notes. You can see the goals that Luke has, and I'll bring up an example of that in a second, as well as any forms that you've asked him to fill out, all in one spot. So you can have your full attention taking notes, referencing any process or question things, aids that you may have. And then when you're done, well, let me stop there. You can pause the session. So for some reason you get interrupted or you need to come back, then you can pause it. And when you pause it, it goes to continue. So when I'm ready, I could hit continue and it'll bring it back up, and I could pick up where I left off. Or when I'm done, I just hit complete session. When you complete it, it will then change it, shows that it's complete. And then in the future, if I want to see the information, I could click on details and it'll show me the details about this particular session. And if there are any notes that were taken, I could click that and it shows the notes that were taken as well. Scrolling down, I will show you a previous session that I've had with Susan. And you'll be able to see some of her goals, so you have a sense of what it looks like. So here's a continued session with Susan. So Susan has particular goals that are already been listed. So when I pull it up with Susan, I have my session notes that I can go back and forth taking notes, and in the meantime it pulls up her goals that she's working on right in this spot. So I can see how she's doing against her goals. I can see the actions that she has, that she's committed to. In addition, if I've asked her to fill out any forms, like my coaching experience survey, then I would see her answers here. I could click on this and see the results. She's submitted 2 times, so she's taken this survey twice, and I could see the results right here in this window. And so this gives you a pretty good sense of what you can do during a session. So I'll just mark that one as complete. Now the other 2 aspects are, if I want to start a session and I don't want to schedule it but I want to start it now, then it just simply, I click that and click continue, and it's going to ask me who it's with, and then it's going to immediately start that session screen that you just saw. And lastly, if I want to start a session, or I'm sorry, I want to record a previously held session, I just select that one, and it does the same thing. It's going to ask me who is the session with, when was it, etc. And then it's going to pop up that window so I can add any notes and make any observations that I want to for reference. So this right here is the easiest way to schedule, is right from the quick add. If you want to see all your sessions and what you have going on, you click on here. Or if I want to go down to a particular client, I could go down to the client level, schedule a session with that client from here. Or if I'm in that client, I can click on their name and go to the sessions, and it'll bring up all of the sessions that I've had with them as well. So you got a couple of different ways to access it. But sessions are important for many reasons. They're going to tie into the billing and invoicing that you're going to do if you choose to use the app for that. The other item, and the reason why it's important to track your sessions, is if you're going to run some reports so that you're tracking your hours, both paid, non-paid, and pro bono for various certifications, that's all based on how well you've tracked your sessions, and that feeds into those reports. So sessions are important, and this concludes the session tutorial.